Hello, and welcome to SonicSage English. My name is Julia, and I'm so glad you're here today. In this lesson, we're going to do something special. We're going to transform your English speaking style, not just from okay to good, but from basic and simple to natural, fluent, and advanced. Have you ever found yourself thinking, I know the words, but I just don't sound like a native speaker? I want to speak more naturally, but I always say the same simple phrases. You're not alone. And the good news is, you don't need to memorize complicated grammar or difficult vocabulary. The key to sounding like a native speaker is learning how to use real, natural expressions, the kind of English people actually use in everyday conversations. In this series, we'll explore how advanced English speakers really talk in real life. We'll take a sentence you probably already know, and I'll show you how a fluent or native speaker would say it in a more natural, expressive, and advanced way. Let me give you a quick example. Basic English. I'm very tired today. Advanced English. I'm completely wiped out today. Can you hear the difference? The advanced version is more vivid, more expressive, and much more natural, the kind of phrase you'd actually hear in a conversation. That's what we're going to practice step by step throughout this lesson. Here's how it works. For each topic, I'll give you two versions of the same idea. First, you'll hear the basic version, the kind of English most learners use. Then, you'll hear the advanced version, the way native speakers naturally express the same thought. I'll explain the difference, give you examples, and help you practice by repeating the sentences aloud. I'll pause after each example so you can speak with me. Yes, out loud. This is important. Speaking out loud helps train your mouth, your brain, and your ears to work together, just like a real conversation. So how should you use this lesson? Listen actively. Don't just let it play in the background. Repeat everything out loud. Imagine you're having a real conversation. Take notes if something feels new or interesting. And most importantly, come back and review. Repetition is the key to fluency. If you follow this process regularly, your speaking will become more confident, more natural, and more automatic. Now, let's be clear about one thing. You don't need to sound perfect. You don't need to speak fast. What you need is to speak clearly, naturally, and with confidence. That's what native speakers really do. They don't always use fancy words or speak quickly. Instead, they use rhythm, tone, and real-life expressions to communicate clearly and effectively. And that's what I'm here to help you with. So, if you're ready to take your English from basic to brilliant, from classroom-style phrases to real-world speaking, this is the lesson for you. Take a deep breath, relax. You've got this. This is SonicSage English, and I'm Julia, your guide to speaking English like a native. Let's begin. Sometimes, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Most English learners know how to give an opinion. The sentence usually starts like this: I think, and that's fine. But if every opinion you give starts with I think, it can quickly sound repetitive, unsure, or even dull. Let me show you something. Basic, I think it's good. Advanced, personally, I believe it has potential, but it depends on the execution. Which one sounds like a native speaker who's thought about the idea? Exactly. When fluent speakers share opinions, they don't just state them, they frame them. They add tone, perspective, and intention. Let's break that down. Instead of saying, I think it's interesting, try something like, what I find interesting is the way they handled it. It's not just better English, it's clearer thinking. Let me walk you through a short dialogue. Listen to this exchange. What do you think of the new policy? I think it's good. Okay, now compare. What do you think of the new policy? Honestly, I see where they're coming from, but I'm not fully convinced yet. Yeah, same here. That's the kind of natural rhythm we're aiming for. You're not just giving your opinion, you're inviting discussion. Let's look at a few powerful openers you can use instead of, I think. Repeat after me. From my perspective, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure, but it seems to me that what stands out to me is these are soft, flexible, they don't sound aggressive or too certain, but they sound thoughtful. Let's go through a few examples together. Basic, I think it's unfair. Advanced, to be honest, I feel like it's a bit one-sided. Basic, I think we should try something new. Advanced, maybe it's time we looked at this from a different angle. And one more. Basic, I think it won't work. Advanced, I'm not sure this approach will actually lead to results. See the difference. The advanced versions show opinion with awareness, not just a statement, but a point of view. Here's a short scene to illustrate this. You'll hear both styles. Basic version. Do you like the new design? I think it's okay. Just okay. Advanced version. Do you like the new design? Visually, it's clean, but I think it still lacks personality. Interesting. What would you change? Notice how the second speaker guides the conversation forward, not just answering, but shaping the space for more discussion. That's what fluent English is about. Not just being correct, but being engaged. All right, now let's practice together. Listen and repeat. It seems to me that they rushed the release. One thing I noticed was how quiet the response was. If you ask me, there's definitely room for improvement. I'm not sure this is the right direction. What I appreciate is the effort, but I still have concerns. You don't have to memorize these. Just notice the structure, the tone, and the balance between confidence and openness. That's the key to giving opinions, like a native speaker. In the next section, we'll shift focus from sharing opinions to offering suggestions, because sometimes it's not about what you think, it's about helping others move forward. Let's keep going. We've just talked about expressing opinions, how to share what you think with clarity and nuance. But language isn't just about what we think, it's also about what we feel. And that's exactly what we're diving into now. Expressing emotions and reactions in ways that sound natural, honest, and fully alive. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt truly excited but only said, I'm happy, or felt completely disappointed and all you could manage was, that's bad? If so, you're not alone. Most learners rely on a small set of words for emotions: happy, sad, good, bad, angry. Surprised, these work, but they don't capture the richness of how we really feel. So, in this chapter, we're going to expand your emotional vocabulary, not just with bigger words, but with more human language. Let's start with something simple. 1. From happy to thrilled, listen and feel the difference. Basic, I'm happy. Advanced, I'm over the moon. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm so excited I can't sit still. Each one tells you how much happiness and in what tone. Repeat after me. I'm over the moon. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm so excited I can't sit still. Now try personalizing it. Add a reason. I'm over the moon about the results. I'm thrilled to finally share this with you. I've been looking forward to this all week. Notice the energy, the rhythm, the enthusiasm. Use your voice. Speak it out loud. So, from sad to heartbroken, sadness has shades. I'm sad is fine, but listen to this. I was completely heartbroken. It hit me harder than I expected. It really got to me. These phrases don't just tell what you feel, they show it. Let's practice. Repeat. I was completely heartbroken. It hit me harder than I thought. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Tip for learners: use emotional language when you talk about your day, your week, or your memories. That's how you train your fluency in real-life storytelling. 3. Surprise, disbelief, and reactions in real time. Let's shift gears. What do you say when you're surprised? Basic, really, wow. Those are good starting points. But let's explore more. I couldn't believe it. You're kidding. No way. Are you serious? You've got to be joking. These are reaction phrases fast, natural, and emotional. Here's a short dialogue. Guess what? I got the job. No way. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. Repeat this interaction with me. No way. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. Here's another one. I just found out they canceled the project. You're kidding. After all that work. Repeat. You're kidding. After all that work. This kind of language makes your English sound alive, not robotic. But from bad to what a bummer, negative feelings come in many forms. And in English, we have natural ways to express them, not just in words, but in tone. Let's look. Basic. That's bad. That's not good. Advanced. What a bummer. That sucks. Informal. What a letdown. That must have been really frustrating. Try them out loud. What a bummer. That sucks. That must have been really frustrating. And again, connect to situations. That must have been so disappointing after all that effort. I totally get why you're upset. You see, it's not about being dramatic. It's about being real. Fine. Showing empathy, not just reacting, but connecting. Sometimes it's not about how you feel, but how you respond to others. Empathy is a powerful tool in language. Instead of just saying, oh no, or that's too bad, try, I'm really sorry to hear that. That sounds really tough. I can't imagine how that must have felt. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Let's say it together. I'm really sorry to hear that. That sounds really tough. Let me know if you need anything. These are not fancy phrases. They're tools for emotional connection. Use them in texts. in conversations, in life. 6. Expressing joy and relief. Let's not forget the positive emotions. I'm so relieved. That's such a weight off my shoulders. I finally feel like I can breathe again. This made my day. Repeat. I'm so relieved. This made my day. I can finally breathe again. When you can express relief, comfort, or joy fluently, your English becomes felt, not just understood. 7. A full circle example. Let's bring everything together. Here's a short, natural conversation. Listen closely. Hey, how did the interview go? I'm over the moon. I think it couldn't have gone better. That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Thanks. Honestly, I was a nervous wreck before, but once it started, it just flowed. I know that feeling. Huge relief. Huh, you have no idea. I feel like I can finally sleep tonight. Now, your turn. Repeat these key phrases. I'm over the moon. I was a nervous wreck. It just flowed. Huge relief. I can finally sleep. These are the colors of fluent English: real, emotional, connected. 8. A tip before we move on. Here's something to remember. Don't wait for the perfect moment to use emotional expressions. Use them in your day-to-day conversations, even with yourself. Instead of saying, today was okay, try, today drained me, but I made it through, or I had such a great morning. Everything just clicked. Every time you do that, you move one step closer to natural fluency. Coming up next, we're going to talk about asking for help and making requests, but not in the stiff, robotic way learners are used to. You'll go from, can you help me, to, would you mind giving me a quick hand, or I could really use your help with something. And trust me, it makes all the difference. Let's keep going. And just like expressing emotions brings us closer to others, knowing how to ask for help or make a request is what keeps communication human. And yet, this is one of the most underdeveloped areas in most learners' English. They can describe things, they can talk about themselves, but when they need something, a favor, clarification, assistance, they freeze. Or worse, they fall back on blunt phrases like, help me, I need this, give me that. These aren't wrong, but they can feel abrupt, impolite, or even a little demanding. And in English, especially in English-speaking cultures, how you ask matters just as much as what you ask for. Let's start with something simple. Imagine this. You're in the office. Your hands are full. You need someone to open the door. Basic. Open the door. Now, compare. Would you mind getting that for me? Could you give me a hand with the door? Same need. Completely different tone. Let's try these together. Repeat after me. Would you mind helping me with this? Could I ask you for a quick favor? I could really use a hand right now. These aren't just longer versions of help me. They create space for connection, kindness, and mutual respect. And that's what real communication is built on. Now, here's something interesting in English. We often soften our requests on purpose, even when we need help badly. We don't always say it directly. We use phrases like, I was wondering if you might, any chance you could, do you think you'd be able to? It might sound overly polite at first, but in practice, It keeps conversations smooth, non-confrontational, and open. Let's try these now. I was wondering if you might have a moment. Any chance you could help me carry this? Do you think you'd be able to explain that part again? Here's a short dialogue to illustrate. Hey, quick question. Would you be able to help me with the report later? Of course. Want to do it after lunch? That'd be perfect. Appreciate it. You see, short, polite, natural, effective. The key is this. In spoken English, we rarely demand, we invite, even when it's urgent. We frame it with care. Another great structure is using I could really use. It sounds honest, not demanding. Listen, I could really use some help organizing this. I could use a second pair of eyes. If you're free, I could use a quick break. Honestly, these phrases work because they feel human, like something a real person would say on a long, tired afternoon. And that's what fluency is. Now, let's flip the situation. You've asked for help and someone agrees. In basic English, the response is often, thanks. Okay, let's upgrade that. Try these responses instead. Really appreciate it. You're a lifesaver. That means a lot, thank you. Couldn't have done it without you. Each one adds warmth and sincerity, two things you can never overuse. Here's a tip for your own practice. Start noticing how native speakers ask for things indirectly. On TV shows, podcasts, emails, you'll hear it all the time. Hey, if you get a minute, I hate to ask, but would it be crazy to request? These are not textbook English. They're real life, living English. And once you start hearing them and using them, your language shifts. You stop sounding like a student and start sounding like a colleague, a friend, a peer. Now let's practice a few full sentences together. Repeat after me and match the tone as closely as you can. Would it be all right if I borrowed your notes? I was actually hoping you could help me brainstorm a few ideas. Sorry to ask last minute, but could you take a quick look at this? If it's not too much trouble, do you think you could take your time, pause after each, speak them aloud, feel the tone? Because when you learn to ask gently, clearly, and confidently, you don't just speak better English, you build better relationships, and that's the real point of communication, isn't it? Next, we're going to explore what happens when people don't agree with us and how we can handle disagreement, not with conflict, but with clarity, respect, and even curiosity. Because fluent English isn't about winning arguments. It's about understanding different points of view and responding with nuance. Let's explore that, which brings us to one of the most subtle yet powerful aspects of real communication: what happens when people don't see things the same way. It's easy to have a conversation when everyone agrees. But true fluency shows up when opinions diverge. That's when language becomes more than grammar or vocabulary. It becomes a tool of navigation to clarify, to connect, or to challenge respectfully. Now, many English learners fear disagreement. They worry it might sound too direct, too emotional, or even rude. So they stay silent, or worse, they agree even when they don't. But in English, disagreement is not impolite. It's normal. as long as it's done with balance, curiosity, and tone. And the same goes for agreement. Saying yes is easy. Saying yes in a way that sounds sincere, connected, and thoughtful, that's a skill. Let's explore both agreeing beyond yes and I agree. In many languages, agreement is simple. Yes, I agree. You're right. But in English, especially in fluent, natural conversation agreement comes in layers. We don't just agree, we react, we affirm, we extend. Let's take a basic statement. The traffic in the city is getting worse. Basic agreement. I agree. Yes, it is. Now try these more natural, advanced responses. Tell me about it. I was stuck for over an hour yesterday. Totally, it's becoming a nightmare. Exactly. It feels like it's getting worse every week. Couldn't agree more. Something needs to change. Try speaking them aloud, one by one. Match the tone. Tell me about it. Totally. Exactly. Couldn't agree more. They are not just responses, they are connection points. And when you want to sound collaborative or professional, agreement becomes even more nuanced. Here are some phrases to use in group discussions, meetings, or thoughtful conversations. That's a solid point. I'm with you on that. I was thinking along the same lines. I completely see where you're coming from. Yes, and I'd even add that. Let's pause and repeat those. I'm with you on that. I was thinking the same. Yes, and this is active agreement where you don't just say yes, you move the conversation forward, disagreeing not by rejecting, but by reframing. Now let's step into trickier territory when you don't see things the same way. Let's be clear, disagreement is not bad, but in English, we rarely express it directly unless the situation calls for it. Let me show you. Basic disagreement. I don't agree. That's wrong. No, these can sound too blunt, even confrontational, especially in professional or social situations. So fluent speakers use softeners, ways to express a different opinion while keeping the conversation respectful. Here are some powerful, natural ways to disagree. I see what you're saying. Though I'd offer a different angle, that's an interesting perspective. Here's another way to look at it. You make a good point. At the same time, I wonder if I hear you though. I'm not sure I completely agree. Repeat after me. I see what you're saying. Interesting perspective. Here's another way. I hear you, though these aren't tricks. They're bridges. They allow two ideas to exist in the same space without clashing. Let's hear an example. Honestly, I think working from home hurts productivity. I hear you. Some people do struggle with focus at home, but in my case, I've actually been more productive remotely. Notice the structure, acknowledge, add contrast. This is how disagreement turns into discussion. Partial agreement, the gray area. Not every opinion is black or white. Sometimes you agree with parts of what someone says. In that case, you don't want to say yes or no. You want to say partly. Here are a few phrases that express partial agreement. That's true to an extent. I agree with the general idea, though not every detail. Yes, but I think there's more to it. You make a good point. Though I'd phrase it a bit differently, let's try them together. That's true to an extent. I agree with the general idea. Yes, but these give you flexibility. You don't have to choose sides. You just need to communicate your position clearly, pushing back but politely. Now, there are moments when you need to push back a little harder, not rudely but firmly. Fluent speakers do this without attacking. They challenge the idea, not the person. Here's how I'd push back on that a bit. Here's why. That's not how I've experienced it. I think we're seeing it from different angles. Let me challenge that for a second. And in academic or formal debate, respectfully, I'd like to offer a counterpoint that may not account for all the data. We might be missing a key variable here. The evidence seems to suggest otherwise. Try repeating, I'd like to offer a counterpoint. We might be missing something here. Let me challenge that respectfully. This tone shows confidence without confrontation. It's not about being right. It's about thinking critically and expressing that clearly, bringing it to life. Mini dialogues. Let's practice 2 real-life mini dialogues. Scene 1. Friendly disagreement. That movie was boring. I nearly fell asleep. Really? I actually loved how slow it was. Gave me time to think. Scene 2. Work debate. We should just cancel the campaign. It's not worth the budget. I get that, but maybe we can scale it down instead of cutting it completely. Scene 3. Agreement with depth. I think we need more structure in meetings. Absolutely. People are talking in circles. We need clearer roles. These short exchanges show how real fluency sounds, not just what you say, but how you participate. And this leads us to something deeper. When opinions don't match, logic doesn't always convince people, but you know what does? A story, something real, something personal, something relatable. That's why in fluent English, we don't always argue. Sometimes we just say, let me tell you what happened to me once. Because stories don't need to prove anything. They just need to be told clearly, naturally, and with a rhythm that keeps people listening. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Because if you can tell your own stories well, you'll never run out of things to say. There's something about stories that just pulls us in. They don't argue. They don't compete. They simply unfold and we listen, and that's what I want to help you master in this chapter. How to tell a story in English that feels real, natural, and effortless. Not just yesterday, I went to the park. So yesterday I ended up going to the park. And you're not gonna believe what happened. See the difference. One is a statement. The other is an invitation, and here's the truth. If you can tell your own stories, even the small ones in fluent English, then you'll never run out of things to say. Let me show you how. I'll start with a story of my own. It was a Tuesday morning, still kind of dark outside, and I had overslept. Again, I jumped out of bed, grabbed my phone, and of course, no battery, dead. My class was starting in 30 minutes, and I hadn't even prepared the material. Now, in basic English, I might say, I was late. My phone was dead. I had to hurry. But that's not how we really talk when we're telling someone what happened. Instead, I might say, so I overslept again, and of course my phone was dead. I had class in 30 minutes, and 0 time to prepare. I literally ran out the door with one shoe on. and toothpaste still in my mouth. Let's break that down together. So I overslept again. That so adds rhythm. It's how native speakers start casual storytelling. Of course, my phone was dead. It adds emotion, like obviously this would happen. I literally ran out the door. This makes it visual, funny, and real. Now you try. Repeat after me slowly. So I overslept again, and of course my phone was dead. I had class in 30 minutes and zero time to prepare. I literally ran out the door with one shoe on and toothpaste still in my mouth. Feel the tone. Don't just say the words, act them. That's how you make storytelling come alive. Now let's try a technique that fluent speakers use all the time. Framing the story casually before starting. Instead of, yesterday, I went to a restaurant. Try, you know what happened yesterday. I ended up trying this little place downtown. Hear the difference. It's not just language, it's energy, it signals. Hey, something interesting happened. Let me share it with you. Repeat with me. You won't believe what happened yesterday. So I ended up going to this random cafe. This was not what I expected at all. These openings hook the listener and give you time to build the scene. Let me tell you another quick one. A few months ago, I booked a weekend trip with a friend. We were supposed to go hiking, just the two of us. Quiet trails, mountain views. But when we got there, the weather had other plans. It was pouring rain all day, nonstop. We couldn't even leave the cabin. Now, in basic English, someone might say, we planned to hike, but it rained. But in natural, fluent English, I'd say, so we had this whole weekend planned out hiking, campfires, the works, but nature said nope. It poured from the minute we arrived. We ended up staying in, watching old movies, and eating way too many snacks. Let's go over some advanced storytelling phrases here. We had the whole weekend planned out. Makes the story sound fuller, intentional, the works. This is a native phrase meaning everything you can imagine. Nature said nope, playful, casual, personifying nature. We ended up staying in much more natural than just we stayed. Repeat after me. We had the whole weekend planned out hiking, campfires, the works, but nature said nope. We ended up staying in, watching old movies, and eating way too many snacks. That's storytelling in rhythm. Here's a golden structure you can use for almost any personal story. Set the scene. When, where, what was the plan? Something changes. What went wrong? Or better than expected? Your reaction. How did it feel? What did you do? The reflection. What did you take away from it? Let's apply it to this simple sentence. I missed the bus. Set the scene. It was Monday morning. I was already running late. Something changes. I reached the stop just in time to see the bus driving away. Your reaction. I just stood there like, well, great. The reflection, ended up walking half the way. Honestly, not the worst thing. I needed the steps. You see how that turns a dull moment into a relatable little story. Try building one like that yourself. Start with something tiny, like missing your alarm, forgetting your umbrella, burning your dinner. It's not about the event, It's about how you tell it. One last story before we move on. A few years ago, I got stuck in an elevator, alone. Now, I wasn't panicking yet, but I definitely wasn't relaxed either. There was no signal. The emergency button didn't do anything. And of course, the elevator music kept playing. In basic English, I could say, I got stuck in an elevator. It was scary. But here's how I actually told the story to my friends. So picture this. I'm in the elevator, alone. Everything's normal until it suddenly jerks to a stop. No signal, no movement, just me and the world's worst elevator music. I press the emergency button, nothing. I call my friend, no bars. I'm just standing there thinking, is this how my story ends? Listening to bad saxophone covers of 90s pop songs. Boy, let's break it down. Picture this. Great phrase to start a vivid moment. Suddenly jerks to a stop. Strong. Active verb. No bars. Natural way to say no phone signal. Is this how my story ends? Humor. Reflection. Drama. Repeat with me. Picture this. I'm in the elevator. Everything's normal. Suddenly, it jerks to a stop. No signal, no movement. Just me and bad elevator music. I'm thinking, is this how my story ends? That's how you turn small events into memorable English. And when you can do that, fluency becomes something you don't chase anymore. It becomes something you live, because the ability to tell a story is the ability to share who you are. And now that we've learned how to do that, it's time we shift our focus from describing what happened to describing what's around us, so you can make anything and anyone feel real in English. Thank you for learning with me. Thank you for trusting your voice. This is Julia from SonicSage English, and wherever you are. I'm proud of how far you've come. Keep going. The words will meet you there.